I was raised in a home that really didn't worship God, and it was a really miserable household. But I look over my life and I think about the ways God kept showing Himself to me and teaching me Himself throughout the years. And as I started getting older, my grandfather, who had made bad choices in his life but turned to Jesus, started taking my brother and I to church because he wanted us to know about Christ and he wanted us to know about His saving grace. So my grandfather, by himself, took my 5-year-old brother, who was hyperactive, and me, a 10-year-old girl, to Bible class just so that we would know about God and be taught of God. So I went with him for about 3 years until I hit teenage years, and about that time, about 13 and 14, I thought I would go the way of the world. And so in that decision, I started hanging out with the wrong crowd, doing things that I was very ashamed of, and I knew it was wrong, but I just did it selfishly, right? Well, the good thing is that because my grandfather had taken me to church, I knew where to go. I started reading the Bible every day in my room, and I would pray earnestly and cry, God, save me from myself, save me from this horror, because I didn't think there was any way I could live with myself in that state. So praise be to God, He answered that prayer. And I was about 17. And there's this little church girl who noticed my pain. She came out of herself and she gave of herself just to come up and ask me how I was doing. I guess I was wearing the pain all over my face, and she had enough spirit to come and notice and just talk to me. So she said, "Marcie, how are you? What's going on? Are you okay?" So she followed up with, "Hey, I'm going to have a sleepover on Friday night. Would you like to come?" And I remember thinking, that's odd. I've never hung out with this girl. I've barely spoken to her, and yet she's asking me how I'm doing, and then she's inviting me to a sleepover. So I obliged, and I decided to go. And I remember that Friday night, we laughed. They treated me like I was one of them, even though I had come from a different crowd of darkness. And in the morning when I woke up, I remember thinking to myself, I had a great time, and I don't feel shameful, I don't feel guilty. I'm actually happy, and I had a great time. And it was like the first experience I'd had with good, clean fun. And these Christian girls were the ones who gave me that experience. So needless to say, I clung to Deanne Fields, and she became my new best friend. And I guess I was kind of a project for her because I came from a family without God. When I was 18, I submitted myself to Jesus, and I was baptized for the remission of my sins. And I remember coming out of that water just relieved and crying and just feeling like I was a new person, because I was. I used to live for myself, but now because of Christ's blood and His sacrifice, I'm a new person. And I think of that scripture, how He transfers us out of the domain of darkness into His Son's kingdom, in whom we have redemption. And that gives me joy every day.